Trucking spot market talk. It's Monday. Let's see what's going to happen. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, good morning. It is Monday, November 6th. So we're halfway to halfway point in November. Time is flying by. Nobody's happy. Everybody's miserable, but we're going to try to be a light in the dark world. We're going to try that. It may not work, says the guy in the death metal shirt, but hey, we're going to try to make it work, right? It was funny. There was a few people passing around this there's a lot of memes where it has these quote unquote spirit Halloween costumes, and one of them was middle-aged death metal guy, and it really kind of fit me to a T. Like, it shows the guy with the beard with a trucker's hat and camo shorts and an obituary t-shirt, and I was literally that guy at a concert here recently. So kudos to the Spirit Halloween and the meme makers that, to just nail it, right? But you didn't want to talk about it. You want to talk about trucking, right? And I've got this good article here that goes along. It's going to create some fear in you. It's going to create some anxiety, or it's going to make you go, I need to get my crap together. Which is the intent? My intent's not to scare you. My intent's not to give you fear mongering. My intent is to inform you that things are and will be difficult, so you can manage, prepare, and conquer. So, can't have a plan if you don't know what's coming, right? So, anyways, I hope you guys had a good weekend. Hope you had a profitable weekend if you were working. A lot of things going on here in my camp and with Like Trucking and Rig Runner Logistics, and so we're trying our best to make things work. And the carrier's actually doing pretty good. So we'll so that look, it's not all gloom and doom. I do tell the truth. I do tell that when things are tough, man, they're going to be tough. But at the same time, there is hope. Just keep fighting, but do it smart. A lot of people are fighting and sacrificing in the wrong areas, or you're concentrating on the wrong things. And look at your daily routine. That's the thing. The root is, look at your daily routine. Is it getting you closer to your goal, or is it just distraction? So, But anyways, I hope all is well, and yeah, we'll make this work, right? So we'll look at the 123 load board. We'll do the comments, but I have a website, an article here that I came across. It was a lot of people gripe about Facebook, but I use Facebook in a different way. I try to oh use it for information, right? Not like conspiracy information or anything like that, but like just to kind of take a temperature. If you want to take a temperature of how your friends are doing, go to their posts, see what they're doing. If you want to take a temperature of whatever industry you're in, just look at all the posts. Try not to get distracted with all the reels that are meant to distract you, and um, go with the information. If you want to find out what's going on in the trucking industry, join a couple of trucking groups and watch the misery begin. Nobody's happy. Either that or everybody's doing so well that they're going to tell you that you're wrong, and they're going to make you feel bad for it. So, it could be a toxic place for sure. So it's kind of like going through the swamp to get to your good fishing hole, right? You're going to have to go through the muck to get to the sweet spot, and in the sweet spot is where you learn, identify, and you know get some empathy going, because you got to understand what you're in. So, not a whole lot of people can do that. Anyways, we got our Costco special coffee going on. Nothing special, actually. Um, just good old fashioned black coffee. So, anyways, so let's talk about some trucking stuff. So, here's the first article I'm going to throw at you, and then we'll do some comments. And we'll do some shout outs. And actually, let's do that first. So, because people love to hear their name. Trucking with Liberty. Good to see you, boss. Liberty's been putting up a couple of videos about IFTA and filing things. Go check it out. And he also has a lesson about his intra state authority that he learned very, very recently. So, Pigtail, good morning. Good to see you, my friend. Desiroki Pam, good morning. CB from Savannah. Good to see you. How about Bridgeton, Missouri for Wednesday morning? 53 plated van. Well, we could take a look at that for sure. Old school, new school. What's up? Wonderful rainy Oregon. Southbound Pachyderm. What's up? Greg Zimmer. Good morning, Steve. Good to see you, Greg. Baton Rouge, Slim Pickens out of here. Hate my dispatcher. Put me in bad spots. Well, Sean, you should fire that dispatcher or beat him up. Yeah, Louisiana is a tough spot. Now, I don't know about your world, but it's definitely one for spots. So I never went down there with the Big Orange. Did I? I don't think so. I think I avoided the South. I think I hit I would hit Georgia, Florida. No, I wouldn't even do Florida at Schneider. I did hit Georgia a few times. I might have gotten into Alabama a couple of times, but that was sheer luck. So I think it was like Phoenix City, Alabama, something less like border city, something like that. But by the way, I found out firsthand that the intro video is not as easy to do on StreamYard as expected. LOL. It once you get the vibe of it, it's not too bad. Morning 3-day week in the truck this week. Good deal, Gen Z. Jackknife TV, good morning. Randy Curry, good morning from Baton Rouge, also in Louisiana, but he's on a good load, so he's doing his thing. LVC, I will not be taking your temperature, Snorelord. Thank you, because I imagine I know the way that you might take a temperature. Cheap Freight Hauler, good morning, everyone. Jackknife, think I'm going to get a load board. I had a buddy of mine tell me that there was a load out of Port Royal, Virginia, Cisco paying $489 to Cisco in Newark, New Jersey. So I looked at how much an Uber would be. LOL. The Uber was $385. So Uber was paying $1.35 to the driver of a car, and that particular broker was paying $1.60 to a semi truck. Yeah. And yet you still chose to buy a $4,000 a month truck. So good luck to you, man. Good luck. So, with that being said, you might want to pay attention to this article I'm about to read. Right? This is from CNBC. Now, supposedly this is legacy news, so you got to be careful with that. But it's interesting when the mainstream starts talking about freight. Because usually by the time mainstream is talking about freight, we've already been seeing it. We've already been witnessing it. We've already been experiencing it. So something to ponder. Diane Bree, good to see you, my friend. I should show you the new holster. Maybe I have the new holster I got. I think you dig it. All right, so sorry, off topic there. So headline: Uber Freight CEO says the shipping recession is at a new tipping point. Key points are fuel costs may be a tipping point for carriers operating with little to no margin, according to Uber Freight CEO Lior Ron. However you say that. We're just going to call him Uber Freight CEO guy. I believe the contract pressure will continue. The non-diversified brokers and subscale, less financially sound players are feeling a lot of pressure, he said. Trucking company Yellow entered bankruptcy in August, and once hot freight startups, including Flexport and Convoy, have been humbled by recent conditions, with Convoy recently shutting down. So there's the Uber Freight trailer. So it's a stock photo from April 7th. Okay, so here we go. Let's go into this article here. The freight transport sector has faced a volatile year with a series of bankruptcies as a result of diminished freight rates and a lack of cargo as demand waned. But CEO of Uber's logistics subsidiary, Uber Freight, says the freight recession may be at a new tipping point, quote unquote. The reason is fuel prices. Ron said that Uber Freight is witnessing more carriers giving back lanes after bids, which could be an indicator of carriers unable to afford to run certain shipping routes. Now, I'm going to pause there. So, those of you who are familiar with Uber Freight, they have been wanting people to quote lanes. They don't want to post this stuff on their board. They want you to know, they want to know that you've got it covered. So, there's a lot of rate quoting going on right now. And well, actually it was more a month or two ago. But just keep that in mind that this is kind of where they're talking about. Okay. Back to the article. Low fuel prices earlier this year likely helped many carriers manage through low rates. But increasing fuel costs may be a tipping point for carriers operating with little or no margin, Ron said. Shipper volumes are still down and carrier rates are still depressed. And so far in quarter four, he said Uber's team has observed carriers being more selective on the volume that they take in bids to remain profitable. Shippers, meanwhile, are being more selective on their carrier mix and have been leaning towards selecting carriers they think are stable and provide good service, Ron said. Oil prices have come down from the recent peak, and global economic growth is projected to slow next year. Did you guys catch that? Global economic growth is projected to slow next year. Okay. But geopolitical risks remain high, from the Russia-Ukraine war to the emerging Israel-Hamas war in the Middle East. The World Bank warned in a report on Tuesday that record high oil prices could be reached if the conflict spreads beyond the Gaza Strip, and the price of crude able to rise as high as $157. Bank of America recently released a similar worst case scenario forecast. Now, I'm going to pause there. Okay. These big banks, these big corporations, they pay people really good money to make these predictions. The Pigtail had the term for it. The guy that does math, it's these guys that their sole job, and I have a friend of mine that does that for an insurance company. Their sole job is to do math and predictive math to make sure that things are still going to be good. If not, that they make adjustments. They want to steer the ship before there's a problem. Okay. Fraught with uncertainty, quote unquote, is how the International Energy Agency recently described the conditions in the oil market. The World Bank's baseline case, assuming that there's no oil shock, would result in an average price of $90 a barrel in the current quarter before crude heads lower in 24 to an $81 average amid slower global growth. There's a chart. The sharp decrease in freight rates and demand after the pandemic boom contributed to the demise of venture-backed darling Convoy. Flexport, among another heavily funded logistics startup, recently had a CEO shakeup and another round of layoffs in October, affecting 20% of its global workforce. Global shipping container rates have dropped by more than half compared to a year ago and are now below pre-pandemic rates of 2019. Numbers don't lie, Ron says. If you look at the asset side, the cost of managing a fleet is increasing, and it's hard to escape that. I believe the contract pressure will continue. The non-diversified brokers and subscale, less financially sound players are feeling a lot of pressure. Convoy co-founder and CEO Dan Lewis cited the massive freight recession in a memo to employees explaining its demise. Now, Dying Breeze says, I see Uber getting their name out there. Well, here's how they're putting their name out there. Uber Freight has had its own challenges this year. In February, it issued a bearish outlook on the freight market after the company cut approximately 150 jobs, 3% of its workforce. The company had a second round of layoffs in July between 40 and 50 employees. As it navigates through the freight recession, Uber Freight is doubling down on sustainability measures, which have been a focus among VC-backed freight and logistics startups, including Convoy. Now, I told you that these guys hire professional math people to figure out what they can do. Using data analytics, AI, remember that, using data analytics and AI, matching routing solutions, Uber Freight just released a sea-to-sky emissions dashboard to provide full visibility and eliminate what's called empty miles, which adds to cost, delivery time, and climate impact. So now we're throwing the climate thing in here. The company hopes to streamline the transit of freight, which would cut down consumer costs and increase transport productivity. Now, I've shipped packages where they've had to go to a city way out of route to get to my city. And, very inefficient, I would think, but, and this efficiency is going to become important if fuel spikes, and that's partially what they're preparing for. So far, we've been able to eliminate 2.4 million empty miles this year, Ron said. Clients are also transitioning freight to cheaper, more sustainable options like intermodal. That's one of the parts you need to pay attention to, okay? Which involves moving containers across a combination of transport options such as road, rail, and maritime. Ron explained you can only reduce empty miles if you digitize the entire supply chain. To achieve sustainability at scale, you need a diversified portfolio, he said. This is powered by technology which runs through the segments of business. Empty miles account for around 30% of U.S. trucking miles, according to Uber Freight data. And the company estimates that empty miles could be reduced to as much as 15% with routing and bundling technology. Now, I'm going to pause here to tell you that I despise Uber's bundling loads because they completely don't take into account hours of service. Now, back when I was at Landstar, there were these agents that would try to piece 4 or 5 loads together, And 9 times out of 10, they would all fall apart halfway through, and then they would tell you that the money was in the later part of the route, and it just didn't work. And so at the end of the week, you're looking at probably lower revenue than if you would have just booked your own stuff load by load. So that's why I don't believe in the bundles, quote unquote. Now, will I book 2 or 3 loads together if they work out? Yes, I'll do that, especially if it's with one broker. But the majority of the bundles that they have do not take into account the hours of service. All right, so back to the article. That translates into a 10 to 15% increase in income, not even including the energy savings, Ron said. Our goal is 80% clean transportation across global brokerage shipments by 2040. It is an ambitious goal, but we want to hold ourselves accountable. We have a path, a model, and we have made the right investments to get there. Now, by calling it a climate thing, they might be able to get some special privileges. And then the general public will get on board with the fact that they're trying to take you out. Autonomous trucking is part of the model that Ron says will help the company achieve these goals. Uber Freight has been hauling commercial loads since 2021 with its autonomous trucking partner, Aurora. Other partnerships include Volvo's autonomous unit and more recently, Wabi, Uber Freight's autonomous trucking program that makes daily runs with select customers in Texas to help identify where autonomous trucks are needed most to alleviate supply chain bottlenecks. We want to help and support shippers and their chief sustainability officers, Ron said. We believe sustainability can help increase their bottom line. Some Uber Freight's large shippers include AB InBev and Nestle and Land O'Lakes. Even though there is pressure across the sector, he said, transportation carriers and shippers are preparing for a holiday season upswing, which includes both Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then into 2024, the Lunar New Year in February. Though some big retailers remain cautious about the consumer, including Target, whose CEO told CNBC on Thursday that the spending pullback is even starting to hit groceries. Right, Jackknife? The next few weeks will be very telling. So there you go. And then the Panama Canal's in a crisis right now. And then oil tankers are all worried about what's going on in the Middle East. So I all this is to say, did they talk about drivers at all in here? Did they talk about the one truck operations that are struggling right now? No. They're talking about the corporate level. They're talking about how freight is moved. They're talking about reducing miles. They're talking about autonomous trucks. They're talking about intermodal. These are the cards that are stacked against you. And that's what you have to consider when going into this business. And that's what you need to be considering now. What can I do differently that's going to insulate me from this? Okay? Now, whether you agree with any of this information, you could sit there and say, well, autonomous trucks will never be a thing, and this will never be a thing, and this, okay, that's not the point. The arguments whether autonomous trucks will be effective or not, I don't care about those. You know why? Because it's the intent that I look at. I've talked about this before. The intent is to digitalize and standardize everything to reduce shipping costs. Because they know that fuel is going to hit the roof. And they know that that's going to be a tipping point for a lot of businesses in general. High fuel prices cause recessions or is a byproduct of a recession. LVC says Maersk that's a big shipping company, just fired 10,000 people. Okay. So when you're sitting there in Florida bitching that you can't get above $1 a mile, just know that there's a bigger picture at play here, and you need to be aware of it. And if you're taking delivery of a brand new truck right now, these are things that you have to pay attention to. Because it goes beyond just hunkering down and outlast. There's this mindset right now that, okay, we just got to hunker down and outlast the bad carriers, outlast the people that don't have their expenses nailed down, outlast the people that are let them go out of business first, right? Now, if you remember during COVID, during the shutdowns, what the government do? It pumped a bunch of money to people that frankly didn't even need it. But as I'm looking at things now, it seems like a lot of people was going to need that money 2 years later. And for those that sat on that money, you're probably doing okay right now. And so that's why there's still a lot of carriers that are surviving right now, because they got a head start. And so these are the things you have to consider. Now, the majority of people I know can't get out of their own way. And when you got big companies like Uber Freight telling you, after they've laid off a bunch of people themselves, and then, news like this, like LVC has pointed out, there was another article about how their DOT is trying to pump a bunch of capacity into the ports. Well, when you want more capacity, when you want more trucks, that means you can lower the rate. See, here's the thing. This truck driver shortage is about lowering rates. If we flood the market with truck drivers, then we'll eventually have enough people that will move cheap, which is what we want. Now, if I was a t-shirt vendor, I'm going to want the lowest amount of shipping as possible. Some of these businesses are 100% relying on what freight rates are to see if they're making profit. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about your truck. They don't care about your PACCAR motor or your Volvo engine. They don't care about that check engine light. All they know is that they need to reduce their costs at any cost. And so if somebody can do that with an autonomous truck, or if somebody can put that on a rail, I'll wait a little bit longer for it. That's what they're going to do. And so recognizing that and doing some research, how do you insulate yourself from that as a driver or a broker? How do you do that? That's going to be the important. That's what's going to help you, quote unquote, survive. But you got to do more than just survival. You got to stage yourself for the next thing. The trucking industry, I've been in this industry since long before I was driving. And I'm seeing a change that it's blown my mind how quickly things are changing. There's a lot going on right now that you have to be aware of. Now, you could sit there and say, well, just get in the truck and drive. Well, okay, that's great. You might be ride or die till the end at the cost of your family, at the cost of your happiness, at the cost of your health. And for what? At the end of the day, what do you have? So do something that you love, show passion, do some research. Don't be just surviving right now. James G went out. He says, I'm still needing an owner operator or driver for an upcoming seasonal contract. Email me at bygeorgetrucking@gmail.com. So there you go. There you go. There you go, George. James. I don't know why I called you George. Probably because right? Well, with the lack of freight miles I'm doing, if my fuel bill goes up like another $500 or so a week, I'll be a company driver, pay territory most weeks. That's that's a whole different episode, Jackknife. I guarantee you that if you did all your expenses, your truck payment, your fuel, your insurance, all the stuff associated with being an owner operator, that you're probably making less than what most company drivers are now. But you're assuming all the liability. Get the truck expense down. And you might be better off. I'm a little concerned that I'm not more concerned about all these concerning concerns. Yes, it helps to be quite a bit stoic about it, CB. But most people, if you're not concerned, I don't sit there and live in fear. I don't sit there and like, this does not keep me up at night. But the awareness of it makes me go, this might crap the bed here soon. So what's my backup plan? And will that insulate me from whatever's coming? Or it's not necessarily even a backup plan, it's more of an adjustment. How can I adjust? Going into management and selling the truck was an adjustment. Because I knew that what my needs were, I wasn't going to profit. But it was also part of a 5-year plan, which I'm now executing. And my plan was not dependent on market conditions. Part of it was, but some of it was like, okay, even if market conditions take a tank, then what are you going to do on top of that? Tom is definitely morning. It's definitely Monday, right? Good morning. That's a lot of fancy talk that basically says reduce deadhead and book ahead in profitable lanes. Duh. See, you view things the same way I do, right? That's how I look at that. But fuel is the big one. Fuel and intermodal. That's the other one. That's the other two. Hey, we're going to give you 1,800-mile multiple stop, but don't worry, we're saving the environment, even though you're only getting paid $3,200 for a week's worth of work and reschedulings. Yes, I agree with that. That's what's going to happen with that, with their bundles. Dennis, what's up? Tyson just recalled 30,000 pounds of chicken nuggets, so I don't know how much more Tyson's bottom line can endure before definitely cuts into our shipping contracts. 30,000 pounds is one truckload. That's true. Cash is king. Hey now. Yeah, but that's 30,000 packages, and that's not necessarily that one load. I'm worried about confidence in the purchaser. Well, you should have been worried about that a year ago. They're already having a hard time keeping their customers. Apparently, sales are shaky. Well, I mean, this article just said that even groceries are being affected by consumers. I also think that some of the people, some of the PPP loans and SBA loans probably prolonged a lot of guys that should have dropped out of the market a long time ago. Maybe it's even still. It is. It is. Mr. Charles, good morning. They care about their bottom line, their bonuses, and their company. They're just numbers. You're just numbers on a piece of paper, and a name's not a business person is cold and harsh. There's no room for personal consideration. That reminds me, did you know that PACCAR reported its highest earnings yet? They don't care how many trucking businesses went under because of the cost of their product. They don't care about that. Can you start doing Tequila Tuesdays and rage quit after every episode? Nah, that's my retirement plan, LBC. That's my retirement plan. James says that's okay. Morning with trucking with T-Bone. Good morning. Twisted Mud Flap Service. Big Money Monday. Cool trucking. Good morning. CDM Freight Broker. Good morning. Todd. I'm still alive. Good deal, man. I was going to get a hold of you this week. I was giving you your space. So hopefully things are going okay. LVC, I'm considering a Moonshine Monday and a rage quitting my job. Does that count? Yeah, Mrs. A is having a hard morning this morning. All right, so let's get to the load availability, shall we? Let's actually, whoa. I'm doing something wrong here. Share screen. It was doing something weird. So here's the 123 low board. Let's look at van first. This is your hot market more for van. Notice it doesn't change the whole time. Hold on a second. All right. It's definitely Monday for sure. I will call you tomorrow around 11. Okay. I won't bother you then. Slowly turn it into the honorary pincushion. You know, here's the deal, Jackknife. Every day I see a lot of people making moves that either I know are mistakes or I know that they definitely have their challenges ahead of you. And there's nothing wrong with having challenges. But if I had, let's say that I wanted to go out and buy a brand new truck. The first thing I would want to do is try to get that truck payment down as low as possible. So that would require some money down. Having a new truck would be great, but I would want some money to put down. I'm talking like 50, 60 grand so we can get those truck payments down to a reasonable level. And by reasonable, I mean be able to survive an up market and to survive a down market. So when I saw that you got that new truck, I knew that that was going to be a problem, and it has. These are the kind of things that I see owner-operators make all the time. I see mistakes. I wouldn't call them mistakes, but they're definitely challenges. I see guys getting into business all the time that have no credit or money in the bank. And that is definitely a challenge. Can it be overcome? Yes. I have a couple of people I know that are close to me that have overcome those challenges. But it was a certain mindset that brought them to that point. And the thing about you, Jackknife, is you put everything out there, right? And And so, and you're willing to take constructive criticism. A lot of people don't like that. And so I give you props for that. Because people can learn from your situation. Those of you that are not familiar, Jackknife had his own authority, ran flatbed out of Pennsylvania. Truck engine blew up after he switched from his own authority to running Tyson chicken, reefer freight. And then he got a brand new truck, and it's been a struggle ever since. And this is a good question, Dio. So, do you have any suggestions of solutions for the concerns here you have found on this? I thought I read that as cancers, but concerns here you have found on this Uber article. Yeah, so Uber is not great at multiple stops. So basically, here's the awareness of this, right? So number one, they said that a lot of carriers are pulling out of bids that they had on markets because of how the market's changing. So you're going to have to figure out how to be profitable. If you do quote a contract, you're going to know you're going to have to take all things into account. Now, if fuel spikes, fuel surcharge should help alleviate that. But if you're 100% spot, that doesn't mean anything. And so surcharge is. Hold on. All right. Um. Anyways, so number one, know that fuel's going to be a problem. So have a worst case scenario. How high does fuel have to get before you're not profitable on a certain lane if you're running? The second thing is, what can you do that could take advantage of the intermodal? Maybe you can run final mile stuff, or maybe you can adjust there, or pay attention to that, or do the stuff that can't be put on a train, right? So it might be a platform change. It might be we got to get our truck paid off so we can absorb those fuel prices, that kind of thing, right? So that's what, like, as a broker, I'm going to try to get into the freight that Uber can't take over. Now, the other thing that I will say is what took Convoy out? The inability to give personal customer service. That was one of their symptoms, right? So Uber is obviously facing hardships as well. So while they have all these grand plans to go to 2040, they're laying people off. So what's the real story there? Because they're going to sit there and talk like they have all the answers, but in reality, they don't. And so instead of adjusting to the market, they're trying to manipulate the market. And so just the awareness is what most people lack. And just being aware of it, Dio, is something that you can, like, okay, now, since I'm aware, what can I do about this? And that answer lies in each individual. I don't have a general answer other than get your fuel costs down as low as possible. Don't go out and buy a $180,000 Peterbilt with a big hood, or do a platform where fuel efficiency doesn't matter, like oversized, specialized. But even then, fuel is going to be your biggest cost. So that's the kind of thing I look at. So Alfalfa, what's up? Uh, New trucks take sacrifice. Your life is that truck for the next 5 years. Look, I have a couple of friends that went out and got new trucks, but they put so much money down that their payments are very low. They're not freaking out right now because they got the warranty, they got the fuel efficiency, and if that truck goes down for 2 weeks, they're not freaking out. And they have relationships with the lenders of those vehicles. You know, people want to get into brand new trucks with no money down. Man, that makes your life a lot harder. So the idea is your first truck, you have enough equity in the truck that when you trade it up in 3 years, you get that payment lower and lower. Eventually, by the time you get to one of the trucks, you'll have little or no payment at all. I know several people that have done that in the time that I've been a driver, and it works out for them. They're driving a brand new truck with zero payments. Now, I know that's an extreme case, but if you truly want to win in this game and not live check to check, paycheck to paycheck, you have to put yourself in a position where that one repair is not going to take you out. One bad day is not going to take you out. A bad shop is not going to take you out. And that's been happening more and more here lately. Shops are just throwing parts at things, not really fixing them, and that becomes expensive if you're not under warranty. So just that system alone would make me want, like I would never want to do this job without a warranty, especially if you're the sole breadwinner of your household. So you can have a new truck, but the sacrifice is you need to put a ton of money down, have a good credit score, and not be in major debt when you get the truck. Not have all the toys. Or if you do have all the toys, they're all paid off. My channel on YouTube was always to be a showing a moment with entertainment mixed in with just pure truth. I have a very thick skin. So, Mac the Trucker, good morning. Here with the exclamation points. If you get 10 decisions right in trucking, you're profitable. 9 to 10, you're a genius. When you get 10 out of 10 right, you realize there was always 15 decisions to make. This is true. This is true. So, almost made a boo boo. Timestamp nuggets. Thank you, CDN. The worst thing Uber could do for itself is make it sound like they're shaky because you need to keep investor confidence up. They need their money so they can last through the downturn. That was what all that emissions and future what we want to do talk is about. Is so the investors jump on and go, hey, that's a great idea. Let's put everybody in robot trucks or put everything in robot trucks and cut down emissions. I'll sign my investment up for that. Oh, don't worry about that part where we laid off people. That's the old way. That's why we laid them off. But the reality is they laid people off among many brokers, right? At this point, it wouldn't surprise me if there were more larger carriers and brokers just BSing their way through this market, hoping investors don't drop off. Well, there you go. I wouldn't trust Uber right now. I believe that they are in financial trouble. Getting denied the other day by Thunder was just the first red flag. Oh, Uber is now. Wow. I did not hear about that. The real story to be told is how they built up 50, 60K equity. How many years did it take them and did they do it? There you go. Yeah, talking about buying the truck. WCF says Uber Freight paid me within a week of completing the load load a few weeks ago. No complaints here from the Uber. Look, and I'm not bashing Uber. Okay, I'm just relaying an article that says that they want to become more efficient and they're laying people off because they're struggling. And they're telling you that you're going to struggle as well. Right? And Convoy was just the beginning. So if 90% of your freight is coming from Uber, you might want to like branch out a little bit and get relationships with other brokers. A new W9 right now is 240. Even a $60,000 down payment doesn't lower that payment enough, right? And it's yeah. That's insanity. Lima Bravo, green fraud. I agree with that. Anybody who uses that term, yeah, I definitely agree. It's just a way to capitalize. Yeah. Wait, what? That's new. I have not had the official word from on our side yet, but that's interesting. I'm going to inquire about that. They are back. They are back to green. I ended up getting an email from Thunder. Uber was a one-time exception. Okay. All right. So LVC propaganda. All right. So, but anyways, you just gotta just be aware, Do. Just be aware and come up with something that just predict. What if the team scores an extra 14 points? What are we going to do about that? How do we approach that? What if the quarterback can't make its passes? How do we adjust to the ground game? What if we have to go to a backup quarterback? Do we know our plays? Do we have a plan in place for that? That kind of thing. And I don't have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers, to be honest with you. Other than just be aware, and that's what I do. Most people are completely unaware of what's going on. All right. So this is your density map. This is for van. Not a whole lot going. Not a whole lot changed from last week, other than the southeast is waking up a little bit. But the Panama Canal's all jacked up, so I have not read into that or anything. So just be aware that that might affect freight. Reefers all over the place here in the Northwest, and then Christmas trees should be shipping now. So just be aware of that. If they go in a van, they're going to be iced down. There's a lot of mess to them, but they do pay well, and they're usually multi-stop as well. As you can see, the southeast is kind of barren here in the reefer world. So this is your sweet spots right here, with a couple of good ones coming in and out of these areas here. And then let's look at flatbed. South Dakota's yellow, so that's cool. Let's see. So take a look at that. But anyways, I think I'm gonna end this feed here. I've got stuff to do. It's been almost an hour. Look, I just want to help people as much as I can, but you got to be willing to help yourself. And right now, you have corporations that are already making their adjustments for what they feel is coming, and so you should be doing the same thing. I did a good load out of Idaho with the reefer, but it will drop off. I predict next few weeks. Yes, I think it's going to drop a little bit earlier than reefer freight usually does. So that's just a prediction, though, based off of nothing other than just gut instinct. So, but my gut instincts have been kind of right on a lot of things here lately. So, but anyways, with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. We'll see you Wednesday. And I always say aggression turns the screws, but man, you got to be smart too. So, wrong one. Man, I'm out of it here. Good day.